Welcome to a 10-1-10 review. My name is Nessa and I'll be talking about Halcyon at Taoyuan and how I felt after playing the game for 10 minutes, 1 hour, 10 hours, and 1 year in-game. As a person who does not have a lot of time to play games, I think that first impressions are important, and the first 10 minutes to an hour should give you a basic rundown of what the game has to offer. That being said, I also know that farming and life sims and cozy games might need some time to shine, which is why I think it's important to review the game at 10 hours and after a year in-game. How I felt at the 1 hour mark could change at 10 hours, and that could change again after going through a whole year in-game. I won't be rating Halcyon at Taoyuan on a scale, but I'll definitely talk about the things I like and the things that I wished it did differently, so you can make an informed choice on whether this game is for you. I want to add a caveat that the game underwent a 1.1 update during my review session. I was well into the winter season at this point, so the majority of my review is focused on the 1.0 version of the game without the updates. In my opinion, there weren't any major changes that would have changed the fundamental gameplay experience. However, I did try to interact with the new updates as much as possible once the 1.1 version was released, and I'll note that in my review where relevant. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Halcyon at Taoyuan is a life and farming sim game set in a village isolated from the world. Grow crops, raise animals, build relationships, craft decorations and farming tools, mine for ores, fight or befriend monsters, and generally just live your best life in this game. Halcyon at Taoyuan is available for the PC and retails for $11.99 USD. The game was released on January 19th, 2026. You are a sad person who lived a lonely life before falling down a cliff while on a hike with people who didn't even notice that you tagged along. You wake up in Taoyuan village and are greeted by villagers who rescued you from a cave. They are very shocked to see you because no one has visited their village in thousands of years. Luckily, they're super nice to you and give you a whole farm to live on. As you settle in and eventually go into the mines, you find that things are not as good as it seems, and the bosses that you encounter urge you to save everyone in Taoyuan village. Uncover the mysteries surrounding this peaceful village and make a decision that will change the trajectory of your life and the lives of everyone in the village. The most interactivity I got in the first 10 minutes is the character customization. The game lets you choose between 3 genders, and there are a lot of cute hairstyles and hair colors that took up most of my time. Afterwards, you are greeted with a cutscene showing your sad life before you fell down the cliff and woke up in the village. The villagers were very surprised to find you in their cave, and they tell you that they haven't had visitors in thousands of years. They do assure you that they'll take good care of you and instantly make good on their promise by giving you a whole farm to live in. A cat appears after everyone leaves to question whether you are the chosen one or not, and that's about it for the first 10 minutes. Not a lot of things happen gameplay-wise in the first 10 minutes, and that's actually okay with me since when I first started the game, I was greeted with such a beautiful title screen, and that made me so excited to see what the game had to offer. Additionally, I was intrigued by this village that has been isolated for thousands of years. Everyone seemed way too nice for their own good, and obviously there's something that is brewing underneath the surface if they need a chosen one to help them out. I like the plot twist that you are not the chosen one and you're just kind of here and unsure of why you're here. Of course, I don't know what anything means at this point, but I'm eager to take a look around my new farm and start my new, hopefully not so lonesome life. During the 1 hour, I got used to farming and did a lot of exploration in the village and the surrounding areas. As I wandered around, occasional tutorials will pop up in the form of a screen with pictures and controls to show me what to do. The tutorials can be accessed with a hotkey, so I can go back and read something again if I forgot what it said the first time. The farming mechanic in Halcyon at Taoyuan is pretty basic right now. The only difference is that you have to fertilize till soil before you plant your seeds, and your crops will have a chance to wither, depending on a hidden attribute, which is soil quality. I like that the tutorial tells you that you can turn this off in the settings menu, so you can play how you want to if you don't like the chance of random crops withering. I was also very intrigued by how the game manages the shop feature. In this game, you don't sell anything for money. Rather, you can trade it with a shopkeeper for items, or you can even donate it for contribution vouchers. Vouchers can be exchanged for certain things in shops, and it's needed for upgrades and home renovation projects. You'll need to barter items that you can collect or grow for things like more seeds, medicines, and foods, so I like that there's a distinction between these two systems. I also like the bartering system because even if you don't know how much something is worth, you get a good sense of its value after you barter for a while. It does make you strategize a little bit in the beginning since some items are valued more in certain shops. You're not just going into a shop and exchanging money for goods. You do have to do a little thinking on what you can offer to get the best value. I was also introduced to fishing, crafting, and foraging during the 1 hour. Each of these have their own minigames. I really like that there are different ways to fish in the game. If you want to just reel in a fish when there is an exclamation point and not have to worry about completing a minigame, then you can certainly do that. If you're okay with a minigame, you can go net fishing, which will give you the chance to get multiple fish depending on how you perform. For crafting, once you get a new blueprint, you have to complete an anagram puzzle in order to unlock the ability to craft the item. This is the same for cooking blueprints, where you will have to do cooking-related minigames in order to learn how to cook that dish. Lastly, the foraging minigame is a hidden object search, where you have to find the plant that you're trying to harvest. Failing to find all the plants that you're trying to harvest in time will net you one of them, while succeeding will net you two. I do like that you're able to forage at least one, even if you don't win the minigame, so it's not an all or nothing type of situation where I don't feel pressured because I can't find them. I like that for all of the minigames I've mentioned, you can go into the settings menu and toggle them on and off, so you're not forced to play them every single time that you engage in the activity. This makes it worthwhile for me because I don't feel like it's such a chore in order to have to play the minigames. It really feels like I'm choosing to do it. I was definitely loving my time so far in the 1 hour that I've played. The visuals are stunning and everything looks so beautiful. I spent a lot of time admiring the trees in the game and all of the decorations in the different villager houses that I went into. Everyone here just knows how to fill up a space, and I couldn't wait to do that as well. I really wanted to start farming as soon as possible so that I would have something to barter with for more goods and services to make my homestead look nicer. The game so far felt very familiar to me since it is a traditional farming sim, however, still different enough for me to feel invigorated to want to play more. I made it to Summer 1 after 10 hours of playing the game. I really felt productive my first season. I got the hang of bartering, and I was doing a good job of starting on my farming. Although some of my crops would randomly wilt because of the soil quality, I've come to accept that I need to get better fertilizer to prevent that from happening, even though the setting to turn it off was awfully tempting. I started to explore the mines and I got through 2 of the 4 dungeons. Each dungeon is randomly generated and contain the ores that you need to upgrade your weapons and tools, which will increase their attack power and range respectively. There are both hostile and non-hostile creatures in the cave, which you can befriend. This is probably my favorite system in the game so far. Sometimes after defeating a hostile creature or successfully sneaking up on a non-hostile creature, you get the chance to tame them by giving them items that they like. The creatures have an alternative rarity, which is shown through their different appearance, and the rare variation will give you more of a stat gain than the normal one. I love that I was able to get a mount this way instead of the traditional route of buying a horse. I also like that there are a lot of different types of mounts, but I never actually ended up riding a horse in this game. Instead, I was riding goats and boars and even leopards at one point. You can also keep the creatures on your farm and feed them, or donate them to help the village. On each floor of the mines, your goal is to find the gemstone that will open the next door. These gemstones might be hidden in rocks or dropped by creatures that you defeat. You can get more than 1 gemstone per room, so I thought it was nice to enter a room and beeline to the door to go to the next level right away if I managed to get lucky and grab more than 1 of the gemstones. Go through enough doors and you will encounter the cave's boss. The bosses I've seen so far are not too difficult if you keep your weapons upgraded to the highest it could be and stock up on medicine before you fight the boss. They will drop items that can be used to make armor to increase your defense and also unlock the next cave with the next level ore and creatures with higher stat buffs. Usually, I'm not the biggest fan of mines, however, I actually like how it was presented in this game since there were creatures that I wanted to tame, and that meant going to the mine multiple times to see whether I could catch a glimpse of the rare variation and get the chance to tame them. Getting to the boss themselves is not as tedious as other games. You only have to go through a few doors, and if you have multiple gemstones that open doors, then this process can be very quick. If you upgrade your pickaxe and weapons to the highest level, then it doesn't take that many swings to break rocks that you need or that many swings to defeat an enemy. The process is pretty painless and you get a sense of progression since you feel much stronger after each upgrade. Usually the 10-hour mark is when I start to befriend or take an interest to the villagers after establishing my homestead and getting some money me. Surprising enough though, I actually already started gifting the villagers and learning more about them right when I started the game. There are plenty of forageables laying around that the villagers absolutely love, so I felt encouraged to give them items because they reacted pretty well to them. They also give gifts back quite frequently, which I really love. It feels mutual that I'm trying to befriend them and they're also trying to take care of me. There are cutscenes that you can run into which gives you a glimpse of the villagers' personality a bit more, and I appreciate these whenever I see them. The village is full of life, and I feel connected to the NPCs a lot faster than I do in other farming and life sim games. I don't know if this is because they're so easy to please with the items that they'll accept from you. I was still having a lot of fun with the game after 10 hours. There was always something to do, but I didn't feel overwhelmed to do anything in particular. I could focus on what I wanted to do and still be rewarded with contribution vouchers as long as I donated something. The raw materials that I got could be used to barter for other things that I needed. Overall, my impressions of Halcyon Days at Taoyuan at the 10 hours mark is that it's a pretty solid farming sim game, and the animal taming system, along with the bartering and contribution system, sets it apart from others in the same genre. The closest game in comparison that comes to my mind is probably Roots of Pacha, for its own unique contribution system and animal taming mechanic. However, the two games have vastly different settings and approach to their mining system, so you'll still find enjoyment in Halcyon Days of Taoyuan if you've already played Roots of Pacha. I finished the main story during the later part of autumn. There are a few different endings that you can see, depending on the choices that you make, and I thought that was really cool to have in a farming game. Halcyon Days at Taoyuan did a really great job of making me care about the story, and I actually got more intrigued about what was going to happen the more I played and got to know the lore. I definitely have to stress that this is an anomaly in farming sim games, as most of the time I found that the beginning is really interesting, but then the landing might not stick as well as I have hoped. Luckily, Halcyon Days at Taoyuan got me more interested in the fate of the village and gave me the choice to decide how I wanted to proceed. There are definite endings where you cannot continue playing the game after you make your choice, but luckily the game will save an alternate file for you to continue on, so you can choose differently if you want. After finishing the main story, my main goal was to get married, and since I've been developing relationships with the villagers since the beginning of the game, I actually managed to accomplish my goal this time around. You can date the whole village if you want to and have multiple confessions, although you can only marry one person and everyone else's friendship meter will be locked from advancing higher than 8 hearts. I actually had to look up how to get married in Halcyon Days at Taoyuan since it wasn't obvious that you needed to max out your friendship meter with a certain NPC in order for that individual to propose marriage on your behalf. I think that it would have been nice to be given a hint about this in the game since I did look at the tutorials to find out how I could get married and even checked shop inventories for the usual proposal items found in other games. In some games, a letter will be sent to you on the day after you reach a certain heart level with someone, letting you know what the next steps are, so I think that would be really beneficial for this game if that NPC will send you a letter and let you know what the next steps are and how to achieve your marriage dreams. After marriage, your spouse moves into your house and will hang around occasionally giving you gifts. I went through one festival with my spouse and it didn't seem like they had unique marriage dialogue for the festival, and I didn't see any marriage specific cutscenes in the time that we were married to when I got back to spring of year 2. The rest of my time was spent decorating my incredibly large house. In this game, you can upgrade your house twice from the base model that you get in the beginning. This game gives you the largest house that I've seen in any farming game, as the last upgrade has 5 rooms to decorate. It took quite a lot of effort of checking the rotating inventories of blueprints and furniture in the carpenter's shop, and also defeating creatures in the mines for a chance to get blueprint drops for me to get the furniture I needed to fill out my house. I actually like that I had this focus the remainder of winter, since I was no longer chasing romanceables around town to give them gifts after getting married. During this time, the game actually got its 1.1 version update. It really couldn't have come at a better time since the new addition of being able to grow flowers and use them in floral arrangement decorations really helped me fill out my house even more. I didn't have the chance to make the new specialty wines since it was winter time and I could not grow wheat. I also wasn't able to complete the quest to get a second field in time, so I'm not sure what it looks like. I did like the addition of the bartering bartering table at each shop location so that you have the ability to access the basic shops anytime you want. But if you want to buy something that needs contribution vouchers, you still have to come at the regular hours to talk to the shopkeepers so they're not rendered obsolete. I'm pretty glad that I was able to experience the 1.1 update before I got the review out. I really think that the addition of the bartering table is going to be very useful for you if you're just starting the game for the first time. I made it back to spring of year 2 after almost 33 hours of playing the game. I would say the Halcyon days at Taoyuan kept my interest the entire time I was playing. I understand the lulls of autumn and winter in a farming sim game, so I was pleasantly surprised that I had enough to keep myself occupied and not feel too bored. Even the repetitious tasks were tolerable because I knew I had the chance to get a random blueprint from the enemies and also maybe find rare variations. Gathering materials also helped me have more to barter with if I wanted something in the shops. So with that in mind, let's talk about the things I like and the things I wish the game did differently. I really like the contribution voucher and bartering system in the game. I like that there are some items you can only purchase by bartering and others through your contribution to the community. I really like the ability to tame animals in the cave and use them as mounted companions who each have their own buff. I love seeing the rare variations that will give you more of a buff, so it was fun to track down some of them and try to befriend them. I really like the visuals of the game. It's so beautiful and I appreciate that it's in 2D instead of 3D. I don't think I've ever spent as much time looking at trees than in this game. I might have spent some time looking at one particular impressive tree, sure, but definitely not all of the trees in a village before have gotten so much attention. I really like the customization in this game. On top of wearing armor for stats, you have the ability to craft hairpins that will change how your hair looks and also place whatever clothes you want in a vanity slot so that you still have the stats of your armor, but you can look however you want to look. In the same vein, I really love the decoration system in the game. There are just so many different blueprints that you can obtain to craft furniture, fences, paths, and all sorts of things to make your farm your own. I literally spent a whole season just trying to make my home look good, and the game definitely gives you the ability to customize to your heart's content. I really like how everyone in the game is pretty imperfect, and I love getting to know them more through the cutscenes. They have a bunch of problems in Taoyuan that includes generational conflict about what's the right way to do things, to losing one's family and having to become the adult as a child to protect your sibling, and even not living up to the expectations that were set on you from birth. Everyone has a unique story, and I really enjoyed getting to know the villagers on a deeper level, both romanceables and non-romanceable characters. I love the variety of the different events and festivals. They're all really cool to look at, and I like how some of them are different than festivals that you might find in a more Western setting of a farming sim. I like the various settings that you can toggle on and off so that you can play however you want. The game has mini games for learning how to craft and cook and forage and fish that you can turn off if you prefer. The game also allows you to become invincible or prevent item drops on defeat if you don't want the stress of combat. It even has a toggle for plant withering if you don't want to engage in the fertilizer system, and it also allows you to change how long a day is. All these settings are customizable so you can craft your own experience and not have to feel stressed out that you have to play a minigame that you don't want to. The only thing that I wish I knew sooner was the fact that I had to befriend a certain NPC before they would propose marriage to my beloved on my behalf. I think that if I didn't look up the way to get married, then I would not have gotten married by the end of the first year, since I don't usually interact with that specific person. I wish there was a way to toggle on whether or not I want to spare animals in the mine. It's great that I get a lot of animals wanting to be my friends, but I don't always have the items that they like on me, so it's a bit of a hassle to have to click no all the time whenever I'm focused on other things. I also wish there was a way to toggle companion animals on and off. I really like the speed boost that my white pony provides, but occasionally I would love to hide it for festivals or just because I don't want to see it anymore while still being able to keep its stat boost. Sometimes it's very distracting when I'm just trying to fish because it's running to a tree or a fence or something. I know that the developers have already put this on their radar for a future update, but I also want more marriage dialogue and a better schedule. Right now, I feel a bit sad pulling my spouse away from his family since he used to work with his brother as a carpenter, but now he just sits outside of the house and lazes about not doing anything. Not that I can't provide that kind of lifestyle for him, but I would love to see the villagers keep a modified schedule where they're still visiting their families of origin or engaging in some work. I really enjoyed my time in Taoyuan, and I think that I'm satisfied with putting it down for now until a new update comes out. Seeing how the 1.1 update just came out while I was playing, that probably won't be for a bit of time. I really appreciated what the game added to the farming sim genre in terms of its settings, from the visuals to the animal taming mechanic to the bartering system, and even just decorating. This game has a lot of stuff that I wish that other games would implement as well. I think this game might be for you if you're a fan of traditional farming sim games, but you also want an Eastern approach to how it's done, from the crops that you grow, the villagers and their way of life, the festivals and traditions you attend, and the monsters you fight in the mines. You'll get to experience a different way of living and a different culture throughout your stay in Taoyuan village. I would like to say that the game can be as grindy as other farming sim games. However, I didn't feel as bored from the grind due to the occasional random blueprint drops that motivated me to go back time and time again. If you're not a fan of combat, then of course the game does have the invincible mode and a setting to turn off item loss. So overall, it could be a very cozy experience if you want it to be, although you might be overwhelmed with all of the new faces and things to do in the beginning. Once the game opens up and you have more time to slowly learn about your surroundings and navigate the map, the experience is pretty fun, and I believe that this is a solid choice for a farming sim game, especially at its price point of $11.99 USD. Well, there you have it. What do you think of Halcyon Days at Taoyuan? Is this game for you? Let me know in the comments, and of course, if you like what I do and you want to see more, consider liking and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. It will really help me out, and hopefully more people will find these reviews that they're looking for. Thank you for making it to the end. I really appreciate all of you. I'm off to the carpenter shop to see if they restocked on some cool plants that I can use to decorate my house. I've been Nessa, and this has been a 10-1-10-1.